the perfect theme park does not exist. When we walk into a theme park, there is always some complaining that us humans can come up with. It may be minor, but it's uncontrollable. It's human nature. We complain that food costs too much, the lines are too long, the ride-up stapled us, the theming is garbage. We just always find some random way to complain. And a lot of us enthusiasts complain about the coaster lineup. And that is exactly what we are doing in today's video. We are going to build the dream lineup from scratch. Now here are some guidelines. Number 1, we will be working with a budget, first with 10 mil, then 100 mil, then $1 billion. We cannot build a new model that hasn't come out yet, or from a company that's defunct. We are going completely realistic here. We are also limiting ourselves to pick 10 coasters in each lineup. This may not matter for $10 million, but it will be a big concern in the $1 billion category. Now that I explained the rules, let's start straight off with $10 million. So we have 10 million. That is purely not enough to build a theme park, and it's not even enough to build one coaster. Maybe it's enough to put together a fair. But despite this, we are still going to struggle our way through it. I don't really like traveling coasters in general, and I'm sure you can get a good cheap coaster from an obscure Russian manufacturer like PAX. Oddly specific, but okay.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But if you're in America or Western Europe, that's just not going to happen, so we'll try to go somewhat realistic here. First up, we have our kind of standout, kind of inversion machine, known as the Skyboard. Okay, some may be really mad at this decision, but what can I say? A coaster that goes upside down for only 2.5 mil? That's great. Let's be honest, this park isn't going to last more than 2 weeks anyways, and that is how long it will be open before it breaks. It works out perfectly. Now, we need another somewhat quality coaster for a cheap price of less than 8 mil. Good luck finding that. Well, I have the perfect option. An SNS 40 free spin. Disgusting! Dragon Slayer at Adventureland was only 7 mil, so that blows our budget and adds another somewhat acceptable coaster. It will be another inversion machine and a standout, but it adds the gimmick of being off the ground. So we now have 500k, and I'm pretty sure we could buy a used DNF Miler Kitty Coaster with that. I wouldn't know exactly because it's not posted anymore, but boom, our budget is gone, and we now have 3 coasters in our top tier quality park. Mwah.
Round 2, fight.
100 million doubloons. That's now a reasonable amount of money to build a lineup of coasters. In this section, we have to be very careful at budgeting, as well as adding quality additions. This should be very fun. I originally wanted a coaster for each category and started out with an inversion machine, but I realized that we can get a bunch of coasters that have inversions on the side. And so first off, I'm looking for a launch coaster, and a lot of big names come to mind like Intamin and Mach. But ultimately, I'm looking for something cheap that fits in our budget, and that's where the Skyrocket 2 comes in. The Skyrocket 2 looks to be an affordable clone that fits well into the launch and inversion category. I only could find the price of Superman, which was 7 mil, so I will round it up to 10 because of inflation. Next, I need something gimmicky and off the track. I thought about getting a used Vekoma SLC for like 10 mil, but who would want to put anyone through that pain? Apparently Lost Island does. Instead, I'm going to go with a new gen Vekoma Flying Dutchman. The only one currently operating is Fly, and the price of that is not public, so I will say it's around 20 mil. So we'll get something gimmicky with also adding a few inversions. Of course, before I run out of money, we need a solid standout, and there's one great company to look for to standout coasters, and that is RMC. I know we just blew 20 mil on a Flying Dutchman, and that could be considered a standout, but we also need an airtime machine, so it makes sense here. Air Force 1 just sold for like 13 mil, and we need something very similar to that. We'll go a little taller, try to break 200 feet, make it a little longer, add a few inversions, and a couple more airtime moments. This will be one of the newer and better RMCs that have amazing pacing and are not too repetitive. I estimate this will cost around $20 million, so it will bring down our total to 50 million, and after only 3 coasters, we have blown half of our budget. We need a little deeper lineup than the 10 mil park, so I'll throw in a group of clones. Let's do a Mach Power Splash, a SNS Free Spin, and a Sierra Sidewinder clone for like 20 mil. Does that sound reasonable? I can't find how much a Power Splash is and a Sierra Sidewinder clone costs, but the Free Spin costs 7 mil, so the 2 for 13 mil sounds like an overshoot to me. This will deepen the supporting cast and also add a spinning coaster. At this point, I feel like we've hit every category. We have a launch coaster, 2 in fact, we have a standout in the RMC, we have something gimmicky that's off the track, a spinning coaster. The only thing we are truly missing is a wood coaster, and I'm just not a fan of wood coasters in general, so I'll skip out on that.
Hey yo, what the?
We could use something more positive heavy or a little more inversion based, but I also don't really like that either. And the RMC is supposed to have some positives like Zadra or Gwazi, so I'll just finish off my solid dream lineup. A B&M Giga. For 30 mil, you can get a solid B&M Giga, like Leviathan was 30 mil. And if you want to be annoying and include inflation and all that, then I'll just get a very tall B&M Hyper like Orion. This will round out the 100 mil park, and I think it's in a very solid state. You have an RMC Hyper Highbox ground up that focuses on ejector time. You have a more floaty but also positive heavy B&M Giga. You have the Gimity, somewhat inversion based Flying Dutchman, and a launching Skyrocket 2. And on top of this, you have 3 solid clones in a Mach Power Splash, a Sierra Sidewinder clone, and an SNS 40 free spin. now is the big boy that we have all been waiting for. We have $1 billion. We can only have 10 coasters, so there's going to be much more than just a roller coaster. Each coaster will have some more complex attempt at theming. Of course, everything in theming has a different cost, so for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say all these additions add up to 1 billion. The first coaster would be a B&M wing coaster that flies through a canyon. Whether that be real or fake is really up to the budget. We only have 1 billion, so it will probably be fake. This would be a more untraditional B&M layout that goes out and back and will focus more on taking up the thin area of the canyon by swooping back and forth, having a few rolls or stalls, than a traditional windy wing coaster. The next coaster is going to be quite interesting. You take a B&M invert and you make it fly through a jungle type area. There would be tons of close calls and near misses, and you're just going to be whipped around everywhere. Imagine after the first drop, you look like you're about to hit a tree and then you hit a super fast whippy roll out of it. It just sounds too perfect. Next up is yet another Vekoma Flying Dutchman. This one will literally be a ripoff of Space Mountain. Indoor space theme, stars flying around, cool music, except you are in a flying position and it's not completely boring.
Boy, if you don't get
The fourth coaster is going to be an RMC. This would probably be the least themed out of everything because like, how are you going to theme a hybrid coaster? I guess we might as well make it be a Giga and like have an insane amount of airtime. If you gave me 100 mil to RMC, they better do something crazy. I have an obsession with indoor coasters, so if there's a lot of them, then you know why. I want to put an SNS 4-dimensional coaster indoors. I mean, of course, this is not going to be like 100 feet tall, maybe like 60, but it would be one of the most disorienting experiences ever. You could theme it to like colors or something to make it even more crazy and flash some neon lights everywhere. So basically just absolutely torture the rider. Next I would put some sort of crazy fast launch coaster. This one would essentially have no theme, but like hit an insane speed. Kind of like a Falcon's Flight type vibe, but like not made in No Limits 2. This would be closer to the ground, but more drawn out, so not like I-305. I want to simulate something that would be close to like flying a jet, like that. For the 7th coaster, I want to build something really tall but with a chain whip. Since RMC T-Rex is not technically a thing yet, I have to opt to B&M, and I want to try to push 400 feet. That would be crazy having a 300-foot bunny hill, am I right or am I right?
How about no?
I'm going to stop at 7 coasters because if you theme these well, it's going to take up the entire budget, and I'm all about theming it well. Pretty much each coaster will have a good queue line and an onboard soundtrack, so yeah, I might have even blown through the budget. Let me know your dream lineup in the comment section below. Probably keep it to something more basic, like not theming based because it would take a long time to explain, but you do you. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.